Say, we love.
We love Flounder, Pounder.
Yeah. Daddy loves Tyler.
Yes.
You big boy, you love the Flounder Pounder, huh?
Yes.
You love Daddy's boat?
Yes.
You give me a big kiss? I love you. Hey, I love you.
I love you.
You say Flounder Pounder.
Flounder, Pounder.
Say it loud.
Flounder, Pounder.
Say Flounder Pounder.
Flounder, Pounder.
There you go. Good job. My precious little boy Tyler William Davis, named after my middle name William, was born to us on May 26, 2008. Normal birth, everything was great, mother was fine, we raising our son the right way. And then as he became, when he was 1, he was acting fine, and then we just noticed as he got to progress, he wouldn't give any eye contact. And he really wasn't speaking. Most newborns will start saying mama, daddy, and all that. He just wasn't really speaking like he should be. So then we had somebody from the state come in, and they would start doing occupational speech therapy with him because he just wasn't progressing like he should. So then one day, my mother-in-law was telling me, Chip, I think something's wrong with Tyler. I don't think anything bad's wrong with him physically, I just don't know if something's going on. And at this time in 2008, I haven't even heard of autism. Okay, I've been in the medical field 18 years at that time and only seen one child with autism, didn't even know what it was. I was just like, wow, that's not, that's terrible. So I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? So when his speech therapist came back over and we were talking, and I kind of put her on the spot, and now she really wasn't in her way to tell me what was going on, but she kind of just nodded to me like, I think something's wrong. It was just devastating because I knew then that I had to talk to his mom, and then we had to figure out what we were going to do. So mom comes home, I said, let's sit down for a second. She sits down. And I told her, I said, I really think something's wrong with Tyler, and I think we need to have him checked out. And I didn't know if she was going to react opposite of, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, or let's fix this. And she did exactly what I knew she would do. She said, fix it. So we start the journey. That's the journey. Started when he was 3 years old. So I said, all right, let's fix it. So I started making calls, and we met with our pediatrician, who I love to death, and she's kind of out of her scope of practice with this autism, and she said, you need to go see these certain people to get a diagnosis. So, okay, well, we sign up. Of course, there's a waiting list. And in the meantime, I was still on night shift, and I'm, Googling everything about autism. There was nothing good. It was all bad. Your son's not going to be potty trained. He's not going to do this. I knew I had to do something. So I did what any other parent did. I said, we're going to fix it. So we go to the doctor, and he does all these tests, and then we got to wait to come back for the diagnosis. And we go in there, and basically he told us that we need to put our son in a cage. He's not going to ever mount anything. Have a good day. But we weren't there for that. We were there for the diagnosis, because you cannot get help by me just telling you that my son has autism. He has to be 100% diagnosed by this physician, or he won't be able to be qualified for any of the stuff that he deserves. So we walk out of there, and I said, okay, we got the diagnosis. Now what's next? Well, then Teresa, being the mother that she is, she just starts, looking up stuff, figuring out what school we need to do. And so she said, we got to go to public school. I said, well, we'll go to public school. She says, we need to go to public school for 2 years to get the McKay scholarship. I said, all right, well, let's do it. So we went to a school, and I can just remember, and I don't blame the public schools. They're just, they don't have the funds, and this is an epidemic of kids being diagnosed on the spectrum. So anyhow, I just remember those days of going by and picking my son up, and he'd be sitting in a classroom, with his hands over his ears and just, blown out by just the chaos, there was no system to it. So we spent our 2 years in there so we could qualify for the McKay scholarship. Well, we get, we said, well, let's go check out some of these private schools. So, so we go to this one school, and she says, we're going to go to this Jacksonville School for Autism. So we go and meet with Michelle, who actually started the Jacksonville School for Autism in 2004 because her son Nick, who was diagnosed, she just was tired of playing the game. There was no place to put her son. And being like she is, she didn't want her son in public school either. And so we go in there and we interview with Michelle, and she's walking us through, and the whole time we're looking, I'm just thinking to myself, all I could think about was Tyler back in public school, and thinking to myself, my son needs to be in this school. Okay, he needs to be here. So, so we're walking around, and Michelle's giving us a tour of the school, and she was just, well, one of the things about the school around here is, we're not public funded, we're privately funded, so we really encourage parent fundraising. I said, and at this time I was, I'm walking behind her, and I said, hey, I could do a fishing tournament, raise money, and Michelle just said, okay, that's a good idea. So, and the reason why I was able to think about doing a fishing tournament at that time, because I was so involved in the fishing community, because it's been a big part of my life for all these years. So I knew the fishing community always backs a brother in need, somebody needs help, anything. So I was thinking I could ride that wave and help, do something. I didn't know what I was going to do at the time. I just threw it up there. So after we met with her and all that, we ended up enrolling Tyler in the school of fall of 2010. And I said, hey, I want to start this tournament, and I'm going to call it the Flounder Pounder. And how it all came out to be called the Flounder Pounder was, Jacksonville is the home base of Salt Life Clothing. It was organically grown here in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. It started by Troy Hutto and Mike Moore. Well, Troy Hutto was actually living real close to Dick's Wings and was coming in and hanging out with me and talking to me. And I remember it was on a Sunday night. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to do a fishing tournament, but I don't want to do a sheephead tournament. There's already a great sheephead tournament here. I don't want to do any more redfish tournaments. I've already won the Redfish Tour Championship. Hint, hint. And also, there's nobody's ever done a flounder tournament. So that's it. And as I'm doing that, you look over, Troy Hutto has got an old sticker that says Flounder Pounder on his arm. It's one, he had that done years ago, I was told. And I said, we're going to call it the Flounder Pounder, just like that, to his arm. And he said, yeah, the Flounder Pounder, that's what we're going to call it. So having Troy help me get the clothing part going as far as getting us a t-shirt for the tournament, and also at that time, Troy had brought in a bunch of my sponsors. It actually brought in my title sponsor, Ben Grishel, from North Beach Fish Camp, Marker 32. He had a lot of people that he already knew, then those guys have still been with me, even though Troy doesn't help me with the tournament anymore. He's a big part of the reason why I started the tournament, so I always like to give cred. And the guy started Salt Life Clothing, so it was nice to have him telling me stuff, or helping me out. But the tournament itself was ran the first year in 6 weeks. We only had 6 weeks to run the tournament. And I had to find a venue. Well, dealing with the city of Jacksonville is really, really tough. Okay, permits, this and that. So I'm scrambling for a place to do my first tournament, and we ended up meeting with some people out at Heckscher Drive at Fort George Island Marina. That's where we had our first tournament, which was on the Heckscher Drive side. And that first tournament, we raised close to, I want to say $18,000, which was, I was blown away by it. And if you look at the shirt, there was only 12 sponsors on the back of the shirt. And if you look at the shirt today, last year we had 78 sponsors on it. So every year we've grown. This tournament is almost, we're spreading awareness for autism. But at that time, I'm still dealing with my son's diagnosis, not knowing and seeing and seeing him progress. So the school has just been, fantastic, because honestly, with this autism thing, it's something that you have to deal with on an everyday basis. You have to deal with it, you have to therapy, you have to deal with it. And you just got to make sure that you try to do the best for your child, because Tyler, I'm his biggest advocate. His mother and I are his only advocate. He's my only son. So here we are coming into the 8th annual Flounder Pounder Fishing Tournament, and we raised, this year will put me at $250,000 raised, 78 sponsors on the shirts, average 140 boats per tournament, and it's just kind of growing. And on top of all that, it's spawned a clothing line. And one of the things that Troy Hutto used to tell me was, Chip, you need to get this Flounder Pounder thing trademarked, because if you don't, you got to get it trademarked. And it was always on the back of my mind, because I was thinking to myself, somebody might already have this. So long story short, I ended up getting the trademark. So now Flounder Pounder is a registered trademark, and Flounder Pounder Clothing is a sponsor of the Flounder Pounder Fishing Tournament. So once again, right now I'm thinking about the parents who are getting immediately right now, somebody today is being told that their child is diagnosed on the spectrum. at that time, we didn't have anybody to reach out to. I don't take the title of being an advocate or being, advocating for things, but I've always told people I could tell you what I would do and what I wouldn't do. And I'm sure there are other people that are just in the same boat as me can tell you the same thing. It's a hard road, but I'll tell you what, this tournament has spread so much awareness in the city of Jacksonville that people, maybe it has made an impact on some people. Maybe they will look at special needs a little more differently than they would before, because they know Chip has a special needs child, and I don't want nobody, treating my son. I'll treat everybody equally. I've always been like that. So yeah, I think Flounder Pounder is for autism, and that's what it is. So, that's my story, and I'm gonna keep going. I'm proud of the tournament. I'm proud of the clothing line. I'm proud of my son. It's all for him. It's all for him. So.